You are warmly welcome on SLTV Lab.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome once again on SLTV Lab. Today I wish to show you what we call hip joint. Is that clear? Hip joint. So we are going to see clearly what a hip joint is, isn't it? And then the movement that we find at the hip joint, the movement that can be done at the hip joint. You get it? So before we see all those things, you know, the hip joint, it is a joint between the femur. Femur is the bone. This one is the bone that we find within the thigh. That is femur. Femur and then the pelvic bone. When I say pelvic bone, is a combination of so many bones, but specifically at what we call acetabulum. So that is the hip joint. Now let's start. I have told you what a hip joint is. Now let's see. So this bone I have told you called femur. Its part that makes the hip joint, it is called the head. Here is the head. This is very good. Now here we have the tendons of different muscles and the ligament. These are the ones that stabilize this hip joint. Now you may wonder which one of these, is this the right or the left one? So here is what we call greater trochanter and lesser trochanter and the intertrochanteric line or intertrochanteric crest. So when you look anterior, you can see both. So that is why this is the right one. You get it? So here we can see the greater trochanter. When you look at it anteriorly, greater trochanter can be seen, but lesser trochanter can't be seen. So this is the right hip joint. Okay, I have told you it is made up of the head. This is the head of the femur. You see, this is the head. Clearly, let me show you clearly. Okay, this is the head. This is the head of the femur. So it is attached to the neck and then downward to the shaft of the femur. So this head go and articulate with what? The acetabulum. Is that clear? So it goes and then articulate with the acetabulum. So this is the hip joint. Now you wonder, here we have three bones. We have what we call ilium. Okay, let me show you clearly here. Okay. Our hip joint here, we have three bones. Okay, it's a combination of bone. That is why it is even called hip girdle. Do you get it? It is called hip girdle. I mean pelvic girdle, not hip girdle. Pelvic girdle. It is called pelvic girdle because it is a combination of different bones. We have what we call ilium. Ilium, this one. Then we have ischium, the one that goes posteriorly. So we have ilium on top. We have ischium, and here anterior, inferior, we have pubis. Pubis. Do you get it? Pubis. So we have ilium. Let me show you clearly. We have ilium. This one. When you go down posterior, we have ischium. Do you get it? We have ischium. Then we have pubis. So where they meet, that is where we find the acetabulum. Get it? Okay, let's continue. So dorsal bones that makes the hip joint. Now, let's see what are the movement that can be seen at the hip joint. Good. So there is a mean range of movement that can happen here, but let me start from the one that goes anterior to posterior. There is what we call flexion, and extension. Flexion and extension. What does flexion mean? So the femur, this bone goes anteriorly and upward, that is flexion. Then when it goes posterior, that is what we call extension. Now, there is another one when now the femur goes away from the center of the body. We call it abduction. When it comes back toward the body, it's called adduction. You get it? There is extension, flexion, abduction, and adduction. Those are 4 movements. We are still continuing other movement. So there is what we call internal rotation, like this. Get it? Internal rotation. You see, when this lateral part moves anteriorly and medially, anteromedial, this is the internal rotation. Internal rotation. You get it? Internal rotation. Then external rotation is this one. Internal rotation, external rotation. Internal rotation means the lateral parts, you turn it anteromedial. Do you get it? Anteromedial. So, anteromedial. So that is internal rotation. Now, this lateral part, if it turns, toward the posterior like this, it is external rotation. So internal rotation, external rotation. Now we have got 6 movements: flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, internal rotation, and external rotation. We still have another movement. There is a movement that combines so many movements. Have you ever had what we call circumduction? So this is circumduction. It's a combination here. It's a combination of flexion and internal rotation. Internal rotation and abduction as well. Here is the movement. Let me show you clearly. So we have the hip joint. Now, this movement that goes anteriorly, medially, and posteriorly. It's a combination of flexion, internal rotation, extension, so many movement: abduction, flexion, adduction, extension. So this is what we call abduction. Good. How many movements we remember? We have flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, internal rotation, external rotation, internal rotation, external rotation. Those are 6. Then the 7th one, abduction. Isn't it? Abduction. Good. Thank you.
So, guys, thank you for watching the video. I hope it's very helpful. So please don't keep this information just with yourself. Share this information to your colleagues. And see you in another video next time. May God bless you abundantly.
Please support this channel by pressing like, subscribe, and the bell. This is a huge support for this channel. May God bless you.